Welcome back to Dolor Factor Live. You have until 9:30 tonight to send in your answers. Here's a quick reminder of the questions. Name the family behind Farron's Dairy, and what are the new products just in at AF Valmore's Vidbitail branch? Of course, we're talking about abuse of elderly persons in St. Lucia. We're going to be reading some of your emails, and we're also going to be opening the phone lines in a second. But what I want us to do is to talk about the signs of elderly persons being abused. Antoinette, what are the signs we should be looking for?
Okay, some of the signs you should be looking for is depression. Because sometimes you might say, okay, you have a neighbor or in the community, you find that older person was really vibrant, very happy, all of a sudden very depressed, crying a lot. Sometimes this physical scars, sometimes bites, and sometimes also persons are admitted to the hospital. They may say, well, my grandmother fell, and sometimes it was not an accident. It may have been, sometimes they didn't want to take a bath, as you were speaking about it earlier on, and sometimes a caregiver could order, even a family member could be a bit rough, and you know, at that age, older persons, as they get older, the bones are a bit brittle, and so persons can be admitted with injuries such as, you know, broken bones and whatnot. Other signs.
Anything else, Charmaine?
We have bites. Some of them bite on the older persons, tugging on their hair, burning them with cigarette butts, hitting them with your shoe heel or stick, or knocking them all over the place. You know, in cases where they're sexually abused, you will find blood in the anal or vaginal area, or bruises and scratches on the breast and abdomen area, and a number of different signs of abuse that the older person can present with.
And how can we get that information out of them?
Well, I believe that older persons will be threatened, and of course, like a child, we will say to them, if whoever asks you, tell them this happened. Or if you say what actually happened, you're not going to be fed, you won't get any food, and that sort of thing. And this is information I received while I used to be a social worker, or even picking it up in the community. And of course, one would not find older persons actually saying, well, this is what my child did to me, this is what the carer or the neighbor did. But sadly, they do go through those moments of pain.
Now, why do you think they do that? I mean, yes, you'll say that they have been threatened, they won't have food and so on and so forth, but could there be an element of pride? They just don't want anyone to know that that's happening to them, and also they don't know where to turn to?
Well, I think you've said it all, Julia. Pride in the sense that it's a shame that I used to be Mrs. So-and-so, and now my child is treating me like that. So I'd rather not let anyone know about it. In addition, they must be wondering, okay, if I do report it, she may place me out of my house or her house or his house. Or where will I go? Is there a home that I could go to? Is there another child or family member who would actually take me in? So to avoid all of that, they'd rather remain quiet about it. But what we're working on right now, it's a number of policies and laws that will actually help older persons, to protect them, to provide that kind of safety net for them.
Okay, well, let's be more specific, because we may have older persons watching now, and they're in that situation. They have been threatened, and also the people who are threatening them, the perpetrators, are there sitting there with them. You know, maybe they've actually sent them away, because they know that, you know, what Dolor Factor Live is about. We always are about solutions. We always try to help people. Now, if you are someone who is suffering that form of abuse, what can you say to them directly so that they can at least get some help?
Okay, if this is happening, we're saying that you mention it to the community nurse. The health aides around the island, they are excellent in finding homes. They would know where every older person would reside. So tell the health aides, di se nos la a coming na, ki moun ka abize ou ki moun ka batu, di polis la, di dokter la ou ale oti dokter, pièce moun pa kay fa wanyen le ou di sa. Et puis si Ishla mette ou dehors là ou dit ça ou ça vini en comfort bay. Okay, but seriously, we need to encourage older persons to report those things, because it's only when it is reported we could actually lend a hand. Also, the persons who do it, we're asking that you find out from the nurse, from the doctors, from the community members, the many ways and means that you could actually report those things, and that you could actually get help. So don't be frustrated, don't hit on the older persons. Find out from human services what can be done and the many ways that we could actually provide help and support so that abuse of older persons could be eradicated altogether.
I'd like to invite now anyone who'd like to ask any questions to our guest tonight. If there's anything at all that you want to ask, whether it's the signs, whether, you know, or any statements, or maybe someone that you think they're suffering abuse and you want to help them. Of course, we don't want any names, but if there's anything at all, any statement at all, this is the time for you to give us a call. And the time goes by so quickly, so don't wait until the last moment. Let's go to the phone line straight away. Hello, welcome. Thank you for calling Dolor Factor Live.
Yes, I'm calling to give the answer for the parents' theory.
All right. Well, can you just hold the line and our producer will take the information from you. Now, whilst we're waiting for some other calls, let me ask the other question that we had hanging. In terms of preparing ourselves, because we're all going to be getting old. We tend to forget, you know, it's like insurance policies. You know that you're going to do it one day and then you run out of time. How can we prepare ourselves so that perhaps when, you know, when we are fortunate to live until the age of 65, that we perhaps don't get ourselves into a situation where we are relying on either other people who we are not sure will look after us right now, because, you know, we have Comfort Bay. If you wanted to save your money up, because at least you know when you get older you have somewhere that you'd like to go. So what can we do to make preparations so that when we get older we can look after ourselves?
I was also thinking beyond this in terms of preparation, where we can really start with the family. To those of us who have children or families, that we begin to have that conversation very early as we speak now. You could have that dialogue with your children if they're old enough to say, well, as mommy gets older, how do you see mommy, or how are you going to take care of your mommy when she gets a little older? And you can also say to your children or your child, well, discuss the plans, because I think it's important to discuss it, because sometimes there are times when we may develop a stroke and we may not be able to communicate with our child or children what our wishes are. And so I think you have to start having the dialogue as of now. You may say to them, whether it's Adelaide's home or Johnson's home or Comfort Bay or whatever, you can say to them, okay, I'm saving XYZ, I have an insurance plan, and I know you might migrate to other pastures, and then I would prefer if I could go to this home, but I think you need to have it in writing, because you know you're speaking about the will. A few months ago we had a program with the 2 lawyers, and I think these are things we should be able to have it written legally. These are my plans. You let your children know, okay, this is what I'd like to, or you may say, I have saved enough money that I prefer to have a care at home. And I think that's your wish, and then your children should respect that. So you could start very early saying what is it you like, whether to go to a home or whether you would like to be cared at home. Okay,
let's go to the phone lines before we go to the break. Hello, welcome to Dolor Factor Live.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Not hearing.
We can hear you.
Okay. I have a question. I don't know who would be able to answer it. With regards to abuse of the elderly, if you notice the abuse, but you're not related, I'm not too sure. I think they said that you could report it, but I don't know where the person is located. But I have seen the person. You've seen the signs of the person is always crying. The person has lost a lot of weight, meaning that they're probably not fed properly and stuff like that. How do you go about trying to get some intervention or some assistance for that elderly person? Because I recently interacted with a situation like that, and I was trying to figure out how to get that person some assistance the person ended up in the hospital, and nobody came to look after them. And eventually the person left, but I don't know where to locate the person anymore.
Okay, that's a very good question.
But I know that there is a case of abuse and neglect, because in speaking to the family members, the children are of the opinion that the man, when he was in his heyday, didn't take care of them. So it's as if now it's payback time. Now, like they say, once a man, twice a child. So, you know, like every time you see him, he's always so depressed, so sad. And so what do you do in a situation like that?
Charmaine, would you like to answer that?
I'll attempt. This is an extremely difficult situation, especially when family members have decided that the time you were able, you didn't care about us, so right now you're on your own. But allowing the person to be homeless and not fed and cared for does not solve the problem. What it does is only to add to our statistics of persons being abused and neglected. But in an instance like that, I think, caller, you could speak with the family, find out from them what can be done. I mean, the first thing is not to come to a home. Chances are a community effort, or even through human services, we could arrange, can we build a home for this person? Can a family member care for this person? We could look into, is there a pension plan? Is there some money somewhere? Or if there's no money, then eventually we definitely have to get this person to receive proper care. No matter what someone would do in the past, I don't think that it is fair or right that we allow them to, you know, just go on living unhappy, being abused until they pass on. It is very, very painful. I could understand, you know, watching your father not taking care of you, and for him now to be an older person and you have to go back. But the good books will say forgive and just give the love, because he will not live to see 200 years. But while he's still alive, at least you show that you, in as much as I'm hurting due to what you did, but I've forgiven you, and this is the least I can do to allow you to live the last few years in a very dignified state.
Thank you, Charmaine. I hope, caller, that has appeased you a bit, and that you know where the next step is now. But thank you for calling Dolor Factor Live. We've closed the entries for the giveaways now, but after the break, we'll still be taking your calls. This is Dolor Factor Live on DBS. We'll be right back.